you doing? I hope you're well. I'm Deanna and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to wrap up quarter 2. Yes, we're already in quarter 3 of 2025. Sorry, the work I'm doing at the moment is all very 2026 focused, so my dates have been all over the place, but no, we're in quarter 3 of 2025. I am delayed and I will be getting my wrap up for June and May up this month. This video I'll run through an update on all my reading challenges and give you the stats breakdown. I won't be doing a journal flip through this time round because it's mid-year. I'm just going to do a mid-year journal flip through. So without further ado, let's jump into my reading challenges. There's a lot of them, so we'll try and be as succinct as possible. So first off, my Goodreads / Storygraph reading challenge is always, the last 5 years or so, has been to read 100 books. And so far at the end of June, have read 96. So I will be hitting that very quickly in July, which will be excellent. And that just takes the pressure off me and I can read some chunkier books, some more dense books, you know, I can really just do whatever I want for the rest of the year. The next challenge is the Around the Year in 52 Books challenge, which is a challenge hosted over on Goodreads. I'm actually doing pretty well and I've read 43 of the prompts. I never normally do much better than this because I'm always retroactively fitting the books to the prompts, but this year I found that the prompts have been pretty good, so I will be striving to see if I can squeeze in those last 7 books. Next we have the Buzzword challenges, which is hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala, and I'm not doing great at either of them. So first off, with the titles, I did manage to cross off February's challenge, which is Water Words in the title with Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. She writes literary sci-fi, which really is my jam. And I haven't made progress on any of the others. So for April we had Animal in the title, which I chose Sing Fox to Me by Sarah Kane. May was 2 or 2, and for that I had How to Catch a Sinful Marquess by Emily Rose Bennett. And for June we had Memory Words and I had Forget Me Twice by E.J. Campbell. I have started this at the end of June, I just haven't finished it, so this one definitely will be crossed off, but overall not doing great on the titles. She's also got a cover challenge, which I'm doing marginally better at. So April was also animals, but we had Animal on the cover and I picked Hunting Ground by Patricia Briggs, which I have read. May was Eyes and I had picked Fabled by Adrienne Young. Still haven't read this one, but I can get the audiobook from my library, so I really just need to read this. And June was Celestial and I picked Heavenly Bodies by Imani Aru, which this is the beautiful Fairy Loot edition, and I have read this one. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Next we'll take a look at the Romanceopoly challenge, which is hosted by Under the Cover Book Blog, and again I will put up our beautiful board. Obsessed with the illustration on this one. It is one of the prettiest spreads in my journal. Of the 20 regular prompts, as you can see here, I have now completed 16, so I've completed 6 more prompts, which is fantastic. And in terms of our 16 bonus prompts, I'm not doing great, but I have since completed 2 more, so that's 5 all up. So there we go. Making some decent progress on that one, I feel though. I'm gonna be so satisfied once I clear off the original board. Having a look at, I am going very poorly at this, and this challenge was lovingly pinched from Win from Literary Divergence in her bingo board from hell. So the shelf that I'm trying to clear are the 2 like mini shelves that are like right behind me in this chair, and there are like 30 something. Hold on, there's 34 I believe. I probably counted wrong, but I will put a picture up to show you the ones that I have completed. I have DNF and Unhold one book, which was Anastasia by Sophie Lark, and I have completed 1 book, which was That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. So 2 down, very, very much more to go. There is a lot of paranormal on this particular list, so I'm hoping that I can binge read a bunch of these in October for spooky season, maybe even get a kickstart in September, and we'll see how we go. I've definitely been in the mood for another Colette Rhodes because she is amazing, and after hearing Steph from the Novelty Corner talk about Elise Hay and her urban fantasy paranormal series set in Melbourne, which starts with Foul is Fair, I have been dying to get to that one. The next big priority for me is my priority series. So these are the 7 series that Hayden, my partner, had picked for me to complete by the end of the year, and we've made some decent progress in quarter 2. So I did finish off Silvercrest Academy by Casey C. Keane. She does a paranormal magical school like no other, and this was a lot of fun. We're following Raven, who is the void. Something's happened. Her dad is quite high up in this world in the military, I believe, and for whatever reason her mum takes her. They end up in Shadowmoor, which is the slums of this particular world, and no one has a lot of power. One day her dad just rocks up, takes her mum and her back to the, high society, and tells Raven that she's been enrolled into Silvercrest Academy, which whole purpose is for the most gifted and privileged of this world to hone their powers and then fight the good fight against the big bad. And she is unsure of what's happening because she doesn't have any powers. She ends up rooming with a group of boys who are the elite magic wielders of their particular school level, and things head off from there. We have slight dystopian feel to the world. Sinister stuff is happening. Things aren't what they seem. I didn't enjoy it as much as her Saints Academy series, and I think I just loved the Greek myth twist she put on that one, but I still had a lot of fun. And if you're in the mood for a really bingeable paranormal white choose romance with a magical academy, I think this one would hit the spot. And then I finished off the Second Son series by Emily Rath. This is her Why Choose Regency romance series, which has been a lot of fun. The first two books, Beautiful Things and His Grace the Duke, follow Rosalie Howard, who is unmarried and near destitute at 22. She has no interest in becoming some nanny or governess, and she's not really interested in getting married, so she's kind of just stuck. And then out of nowhere, the Dowager Duchess, who was her mum's best friend, comes calling and says, hey, come to my estate in Alcott Hall. And sure enough, she goes. She's got nothing better to do, and she's kind of thrust into high society in Regency, England. And there she has found herself in a bit of a bachelor situation. The mum and the brother, Lord James, are a bit upset with the brother, who just seems to be the original fuckboy, and his drinking and fucking his way across society, gambling, losing money, where James is the one actually making sure the estate is making money, that the people who rely on their land and them for jobs, he's making sure everything keeps afloat. And the mum has basically said, you're gonna find a wife. So Rosalie rocks up, and there is a bunch of eligible ladies, and they're trying to force the older brother into picking a wife. While there, she finds herself charmed by James and his two best friends, Lieutenant Renly and Burke. And it is a why choose moment, and it is so much fun. I will never get over how well Emily Rath creates characters. It's basically them trapped in an estate trying to get this rich spoiled brat to pick a bride and coming up with events to do. And it's just like a slice of life, excellent spice, and I loved it. And then the third book, which is the book I read, is Alcott Hall, actually follows one of the ladies, Lady Madeline Blair, who was one of the girls invited to snatch up the Duke, and it is her MMF romance. She is a bit socially awkward, and Rosalie really takes her under her wing. She thinks, oh well, no one really is interested in me. I debuted years ago and my prospects aren't changing. And then she finds out that her eccentric rich aunt, who she actually really loved and was the only one in the family who seemed to care for her, has unfortunately since passed, but has left all her estate to Madeline. So Madeline is thinking, woohoo, I am set for life now. I don't have to worry about it, except for some reason the aunt writes a stipulation in that she can only get the inheritance if she's married. If she doesn't, by the end of the year, the estate goes into her father's hands, and she realizes that her father has no interest in looking after his daughter and really wants her to fail. So she rocks up to Alcott Hall and Rosalie and the guys and asks for help with trying to find a husband, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And then we have made progress in 2 more series. I will say, despite my lofty goals, I am still making my way through Time and Chance. I actually don't have that much left, so I am hoping to squeeze this and the other long-standing book on my TBR. I'm hoping to finish them off this month, so I'm still making my way through the Plantagenets. And the other series I have made progress in is the Guild Hunter series by Nalini Singh. This is her Angels, Vampires, urban fantasy series, which is fantastic, and reading Archangel's lineage made me realize just how much I miss this world. So I have 2 more to go in this series before I'm caught up to date. And then I made progress in the Alpha Omega series by Patricia Briggs. Again, I forgot just how much I love Patricia Briggs's brand of urban fantasy or paranormal romance. We're back with Anna and Charles. This is set before her Mercy Thompson series, I think, this particular book, but I think they kind of interweave each other. And we're following the werewolves as they decide to come out to human society after they've seen what happened once the Fae had been unveiled, seemingly almost unwillingly. And it was a lot of fun. I think I've got another 4 or 5. If you're in the mood for like an episodic series, high plot, great characters, highly recommend Patricia Briggs. She's fantastic. Yeah, so to sum up, I've finished 3 series of the 7 and I've made progress in the other 4, which is fantastic. We do have a new challenge we've added, and I don't know, I just got FOMO, I guess, watching everybody talk about it, but I'm also taking part in the R Fantasy Bingo. This challenge is a little bit different because it starts on the 1st of April. So it goes from the 1st of April to the 1st of April next year, or the end of March next year, and it is originally hosted over on Reddit. There's a bingo board, obviously, it's in the title, and there's 24 prompts, and there's like a standard version of the prompt and a hard mode. This is the first year I'm taking part in it, so I'm just gonna try and complete it. So we've got 23 book prompts and then 1 which is like an activity. It's not a book, is the challenge, and it says basically to spend some time with fantasy, sci-fi, or horror in another format. I did watch K-pop Demon Hunters, and that was fantastic, and that is a fantasy, right? I might tick that. But I have completed 6 of the prompts, which I think is great progress. That's actually quite on track because the idea is you complete 2 a month. So we are very much on track. So I completed Impossible Places, which was to read a book set in a location that would break a physicist. This one hurt my brain trying to come up with a book, but thankfully the lovely people on Storygraph had given me some suggestions, and someone had said Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a beautiful literary sci-fi which deals with parallel worlds, and I was absolutely captivated and sucked in. So this one apparently counts. It's not hard mode because the hard mode says at least 50% of the book takes place within the impossible place. Maybe it is hard mode. I don't know. Someone tell me. If you think it's hard mode, we do kind of traverse parallel timelines in this book, so maybe it is. But I completed this one. Next is Gods and Pantheons. Read a book featuring divine beings. Hard mode is there are multiple pantheons involved. This one is in a multiple pantheon situation, so I just did the regular mode and I read Heavenly Bodies by Amani Aru. This does deal with a pantheon which is based on the zodiac and celestial bodies, which I think was done beautifully, and I was thoroughly impressed with the gods in this book. Then we had Last in a Series. Read the last entry in a series. Hard mode is a series that is 4 or more books long. Didn't do hard mode, but I did finish Bronze Beast by Roshani Chokshi, which is the 3rd and final book in her Gilded Wolves trilogy, and this was such a joy, and it made me remember just how much I enjoyed this series. The audiobooks are phenomenal. We've kind of set in this alternate French society in the 1800s, and we're following a ragtag group of treasure hunters who collect magical items. The magic system in this world is called forging, and I loved their found family dynamic. The puzzles that are woven in to try and find these artifacts are fantastic. The way she's able to weave in so much culture and folktale of the items that they're collecting, and then also explores what it's like to be of a different race in a colonized world, was so beautiful, and it has just got so much heart, so much adventure, and was a masterpiece. Completely loved it. So next prompt is epistolary. So the idea is that you must read a book that features predominantly like journal entries, transcript, letters, messages, that kind of things, with hard mode being a book that's told entirely in epistolary format, which I nailed with Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. This entire series is told in Emily Wilde's journal entries. She is an academic, a dryadologist. She studies folklore and fairies, and this is set in an alternate world where fairies exist, and I completely adored it. If you're in the mood for like a cozy fantasy with a very sweet romance and just fun, cozy vibes, this one is definitely for you. Next prompt I completed was small press or self-published, which was to read a book published by a small press or self-published, and the hard mode is a book that has either 100 ratings or is written by a marginalized author. I believe this is hard mode because the author is a BIPOC author, and for this I went with Whisked Away by Alona M. Douglas. This is a fantasy romance, Omegaverse, and it is phenomenal. Honestly, the world building in here is some of the best world building I've ever read from any fantasy book, and it is really light on the Omegaverse. I mean, it is a big plot point for our main character Ree and the princes who are involved, Prince Callan and Alaric. However, it isn't super on the nose in terms of the ins and outs of what you would expect from Omegaverse. There's no knots. We do have a heat scene, but it is very kind of light and a good entry point. So I think if you love fantasy romance, love really descriptive world building, and are intrigued by Omegaverse, this is phenomenal, and I think everyone should read it. And then last but not least, I completed generic title. So read a book that has one or more of the following words in the title: blood, bone, broken, court, dark, shadow, song, sword, or throne. And hard mode is to have a title that contains more than one of the listed words, or contains at least one word and a color, number, or animal. I did just go standard mode with this one, and I completed A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a pretty fantastic Viking, Norse mythology inspired fantasy romance, and I am a little scared to pick up the sequel, which recently came out, because everyone's been disappointed. So we'll see. We're following a shield maiden who has a drop of the goddess Freya's blood, and with it cements the prophecy that whoever owns the shield maiden will unite this land and kind of be the king of kings. And she's claimed by a Jarl, and he was like, well, it's gotta be me, and ends up shoving her into a forced proximity situation with his son, who ends up training her, and feelings between the son and Freya form. So there we go. Those are the 6 books I completed for the Art Fantasy Bingo. So I'm making some good progress. I think I mentioned, probably not this month because I'm just mood reading my way through this month. We've got the Australian Readathon Challenge, so I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to read some books with disability rep because it's Disability Pride Month, and do a bunch of other stuff. So I think in August I would like to do just like a bit of a catch-up month. I've been doing pretty good on the ARC front, roughly good on the ARC front. So maybe I'll just focus in on some of these challenges that I'm behind on. In particular, looking at you buzzword challenges. All right, let's dive into the stats. Let's get statty. So the first thing is these are going to be quarter based. So that's all the preamble I'm going to say for that. So for this quarter, I read 50 books, which is wild to me. May, I had my best reading month ever, and I completed 21 books. Hence why the wrap up is late, because I know that's going to take to film, but I'm determined to do that this weekend. My average rating for the 50 books is 4.5 stars, so that's fantastic. And to break that down, I had 16 5 stars, 17 4.5 stars, 16 4 stars, and 1 3 star. So cannot complain there. Speaking of my 16 5 stars, let me show you them, because I'm in love with them. So my 5 stars included A Thorn in Every Heart by Kate King, Sin by Kayla Rain and Megan. This was a reread because I then did pick up Chaos by Kayla Rain and Meg, and that's book 1 and 2 in the Make Games Apocalypse series. Would You Die With Me by L.A. Cannon, Be With Me by Gabriella Sanz, Omega Concealed and Omega Revealed by Elizabeth Dare. That's the first 2 books in this series. And I found stickers. Soul of a Witch by Harley LaRue, A Queen This Fierce and Deadly by Stacia Stark, Viciously Yours by Jamie Applegate Hunter, Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett, Whisked Away by Alona M. Douglas, Archangel's Lineage by Nalini Singh, Vampire Castle in the Sky by Iris Lake, and Spark of Sorcery by Hannah Hayes. They are all my 5 stars. A few of them were review copies, so any reviews I will leave linked below for you, but just know that I love them. Let's have a look at genre. So we have our usual suspects, but we did have a few newbies. So let's go through it. Paranormal romance was my go-to, and I read 19 paranormal romance. I think there was the Love in the Night readathon in April. Also, I was finishing off final books in series. I love a paranormal romance. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Was a Twilight girly, so that has just ingrained into my personality at this stage. If it's paranormal, I'll probably read it. Next biggest chunk of the pie was fantasy romance. With 9 books, I read 7 romances. So that's contemporary romance, and 7 Omegaverse. So Omegaverse is really creeping up. It's just a real comfort read for me. I do prefer a sweet Omegaverse, so they're like a light, fluffy palette cleansers. I read 6 fantasy, so this is non-fantasy romance, for lack of a better word. And then I read 1 literary book and 1 sci-fi. Target audience. I was thinking about removing this, but I'm actually kind of proud of myself. As I mentioned last time, this isn't something I'm like actively tracking, but there are a number of YA books still on my shelf that I'm trying to get through. So So if I manage to pick them up because I'm reading my physical books, that's great. Of the 50 books I read, I actually read 5 YA books, which I finished off Gilded Wolves series by Roshani Chokshi, and I reread the first 2 books. I have no idea what the other 2 books were, but I clearly had a fun time. And then 45 books were written for an adult audience. We're not surprised. Formats. We're also not surprised. As we know, despite the big, beautiful bookcase behind me, which I do love, I love owning books. I am a digital reader. I get a lot of review copies. Most of them, I would say 99% of the review copies I get are digital. And then I've been reading a lot of audiobooks just with life stuff, health stuff, it's a lot easier to listen to. So audiobook is my number 1 format, and I listen to 22 books. We'll say, and we'll get to that later, but a lot of these audiobooks did come from my shelf, and I have started immersion reading, which is fun. I did read 13 ebooks, read 12 ARCs, and I had 3 paperback books that I read with my eyeballs. Let's go on to the book status. So this is where we talk about how many of the books came from the shelves, how many of the books I got from other places. So 35% of the books are books that I own, and I think for next year, I won't do it now because we're like halfway through the year of stats, but I think for next year I'm going to try and indicate, because I put ARCs as owned because I do own them, and if I've bought an audio book, I will mark that as owned. I think next year I will update my spreadsheet to indicate which are owned digitally and which are owned physically, just so we can get a better look at how many are actually coming off the shelves. 8 were from KU and 7 were from Everend, which I'm really enjoying. I pretty much predominantly only use Everend for audiobooks, just in case you were interested. It does have an ebook function, but I just have never used it. Next up, we have my series versus standalone. We know series, I read them. I barely finished them, so that's been a big priority for me. So to no one's surprise, I've read 2 standalone books this year. This pie chart does make me very happy because I have read 17 first books this quarter, but 31 sequels. I will stop for applause because I think that's the best I've ever done. I largely thank May, where I just really wanted to boost momentum. I binge read 2 series and then I was just reading final books because I was like, let's get it done. So I am thoroughly impressed with myself. And then last stat I wanted to share with you was my author status. Maybe I should name these something different, but this is basically new to me versus known authors. That's something I've decided to start tracking, is how many new authors I've been picking up each year. I do a little reel / TikTok / YouTube short. I'm getting better at posting YouTube shorts, but yeah, I try and post a couple times a year to let you know which new authors I picked up who are 4 stars or above, so I think are worth your time. And of 50 books I've read, I have read 13 new authors and 37 books have come from authors I've read before. As I mentioned, been binge reading some series, so they're not necessarily 37 individual authors, but they're authors I have known and loved before. Of the 13 new authors, there were 3 authors I gave 5 stars to. The first one being Jamie Applegate Hunter, and I picked up Viciously Yours, and this was just so beautiful. It's a fantasy romance where we have a completely unhinged fae prince. He is the Mountain King, and I think it's like on his 13th birthday or whatever, is told the name of his mate. His mate, however, ends up being a human girl, which is a bit of a disappointment to him, just knowing that she could now be seen as a weakness and be used to attack him and weaken him and all that stuff. Until he comes of age, he's actually not allowed to leave the fae realms, and she's a human and isn't allowed to cross without express permission, and they're trying to keep her safe. And then he comes up with a way to be like, maybe to get to know her, I'll start writing some letters. And it is so much fun. This man, it is unhinged golden retriever. If you love Savage from Her Vicious Beasts or Solias from The Poisoner, he gives the same vibes of like, is a golden retriever but could kill you, and is very unhinged. And I love him. I'm very excited to continue on with the rest of the series. I believe 3 of the 4 books are out now, and I don't know what else she's written, but I will be excited to continue on with that. Then we have Elizabeth Dare, who, from what I can see, writes Why Choose romance, which, you know me, I love a Why Choose, and this was her first Omegaverse. We kind of have a bit more of a traditional Omegaverse setting here, where we've got Omegas being subjugated and have ridiculous laws surrounding their autonomy, and it's a little hard hitting at the moment given what's happening in some places in the world, and alphas are abusing their power. Dylan St. James herself is an Omega, and her parents are ex-military, and they work together to rescue abused Omegas and get them across state lines to, I believe it's set in Texas, to have these Omegas have a fresh new start. Things go a little bit wonky when one of the packs that she has rescued an Omega from calls in the Bryce pack, who work as like a private investigator slash security firm, and they've been hired by this pack to try and hunt down their Omega, and they run into the St. James family and work out pretty quickly that it's probably in their best interest not to find this Omega and bring her back to this abusive household. And they realize very quickly that they've never really been interested in Omegas, who are seen to be like placid, docile, meek, quiet, until they meet Dylan, and they realize there's a reason for that, because they are interested in an absolute powerhouse of a woman who will kick their ass. And it seems that also seems to be a staple. She writes Why Choose, and she writes strong female main characters. So excited to get to the spin-off book in this series, which follows the Bryce Pack's sister, and I think she's also got like a dark academia Why Choose, which I'm very excited about. Very sad that I didn't pick up the matching omnibus of the other series when I met her at Babe. And then last but not least, we have Alona M. Douglas. She is also a debut author, and this is Whisked Away, the first book in her Jewel of the Nine Realms series, and the world building in here is next level insane. Like, you can just, it feels real. We get the vibe of what their culture is, how diverse these cities are from each other. We're following Rhea, who thought she was a beta until she late presents as an Omega, and her life goes into disarray. Gone is her freedom of marrying her childhood sweetheart, becoming a diplomat's wife, and getting to explore the world. And she's now seen as this political prize and a way for her parents, who are rulers of this quite small island nation, to land a very advantageous alliance via marriage to a powerful nation. She's fucking miserable. Her parents decide to throw a tournament. It's given very like Helen of Troy vibes. And whoever wins the tournament will win her hand. The princes of Azdia, who are the desert nation, it gives Persian vibes, and I love it. I can't remember the city in Aladdin, but I also was picturing that while I was reading it. Their father declined the invite. It doesn't seem to be of interest to them, but the princes are currently incognito touring the world. Callan isn't really interested in ruling, or at least he wants to live his life up before he's chained into ruling. And his brother Alaric is the kind of reserved, quiet protector of the two, and is there to make sure Callan doesn't end up doing something stupid and get himself killed, arrested, or all of the above. So they end up stumbling into town when this tournament's going on, are instantly intrigued, and they enter the tournament, like the looks of Ray, and decide to win it. She meets them. She's not really sure what's going on, because she has a very black and white idea of what Alpha and Omegas are like, and they're kind of breaking that stereotype, and she is just feeling like she's losing her autonomy and losing her sense of identity because of this identity that's been placed on her, and she's just being seen as Omega rather than Ray, the human being behind that. And she is feeling a bit confused, doesn't know what's happening, but decides to take a chance at freedom, and is betrayed and ends up on this quest to find her way back home, and the princes follow after her, and it was just beautiful. So we do travel across a couple of the kingdoms, and we get to see the differences of them. It's a very beautiful slow burn romance as the three of them try and figure out what the hell is going on, who they are, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And this is, I will say, an MFM. Alaric and Callan are half brothers, so nothing happens between them, but they do share Ray. And I am very excited to get to the second book, which she's writing currently, so hopefully be out the end of this year or next year. Take all the time in the world. I will wait for this. Not that she's watching or cares about my opinion, but just take all the time you need, because I will pre-order and wait patiently to read it. And we're in a different part of this world, and hopefully we're going to uncover more about this mysterious sect of bandits. I don't know if that's what you want to call them. This underground illegal happenings. Can you also tell I haven't filmed in a while? I can't talk to the camera. This underground ring where Omegas are going missing and being sold to the highest bidder. So hopefully we uncover more about that. Anyway, that is it from me. That is my quarter 2 wrap up. So let me know how your April, May and June went. What was your favorite book of the quarter? How are you going with your reading challenges? Or leave me a compass emoji for Whisked Away. If you'd like to see more content from me, please like and subscribe. I'm attempting to post videos consistently, maybe on a Sunday. That's the hopes and that's the dreams. Linked in the description box below will be linked to reviews if I have them, and links to my social media channels if you'd like to talk to me or follow me on any other corner of the internet. Anyway, that's it from me today, guys. I hope you're doing all kinds of well, and I'll speak to you soon. See ya!